Hello fellow Cobras, welcome back to yet another video. In this video I thought let's do a recap of our macro outlook on Bitcoin here. So we're going to discuss a bit Bitcoin macro outlook, perhaps a little bit Ethereum, and then of course we're going to take a look at our trades and the short time frame price action on Bitcoin here. But let's take a recap. Basically gonna come back to the macro charts that basically got my channel started. So the charts we've been looking at since the inception of these channels, that's been almost 1.5 years ago, where we'll be trying to catch the exact bull market top here for Bitcoin. So let's jump with my favorite chart. This is a Bitcoin CFD chart. So this contract for difference is a specific derivative of Bitcoin, basically CFD it's called. You can look it up. It's basically contracts for difference, and this means it's not futures. So this chart here is showing the Bitcoin price action, but the weekends are excluded since CFDs cannot be traded during the weekends. So the price action is slightly different here if you use the Oanda chart. So I'm using the Bitcoin here, Oanda chart, BTC USD on Oanda. And this gives us the price action that goes all the way back to February 2016. So this is the chart I used previous bull market to predict the exact bull market top. Arguably, okay, you can, as I usually say, the complete top was actually later on Bitcoin. It was in November 2021. But if you exited in April 2021, you would actually have exited a better price. You wouldn't have to hold almost 1 year where Bitcoin's chopping and then barely made another all-time high. So the idea how we predicted the top here, where of course we draw a pitchfork, as you guys know, we used the bear market lows based on the CFD chart. We used the previous bull market top and we used the recent bear market lows. And we started with the shift pitchfork. So there are 3 different pitchforks. We start with the shift 1, and after the shift 1, we tend to switch to the modify shift. We can see the shift 1 predicted the first temporary top on Bitcoin here. Before then, Bitcoin had a huge correction here, all the way up from 14K. Bitcoin went all the way down to 3.8K here ever since we hit the median line. That's where the algorithms sell. Basically, the red line is what we want to pay attention to. Later on, we did break the shift 1, and then we switched to the modify shift, which gave us the exact exit price on Bitcoin to the freaking dollar. Especially, you can zoom in here on the daily time frame. You can see here how Bitcoin had 2 touches off the median line. So if you zoom in here, we can see Bitcoin came up to the median line. You can perhaps count this as 3 touches. So we came very close the first time, but then the second time we hit it, and then the third time. And that's more or less where I exited my entire spot holdings, the previous bull run. Before then, in my opinion, the bear market started. You could argue, as I said once again, that this was the top. But if you have sold here, you basically sold the top. Plus, you profited from opportunity cost. So you didn't have to hold through another year of chop here to then sell slightly higher. So that way, we can basically predict where algorithms are exiting the market. They're using these pitchforks to exit the market. And what we try to do here, because we found the exact top previous bull run, what we're trying to do is replicate this strategy to then find the top of this bull run as well. Another interesting thing is why I marked the date here, the 12th of April 2021, when it was a complete top here. Before then, more or less, I call this as bear market started, is because we looked at the Ethereum chart. And something I'm known for, I believe, is I really like to look across markets for confluence, which I see very few traders are looking at. So too many people are either focusing on the Ethereum or the stock market on Bitcoin. But what I like to do is look at different markets and look for confluence. And one very interesting confluence we found was on the Ethereum chart. So Ethereum had very similar price action like on Bitcoin. We used the bear market lows, the bull market top, and then the recent bear market lows for the previous bull market top here. We can see Ethereum had very similar pattern here. We came up to the median line, and this was the 10th of May. So slightly later, April. Yeah. So Bitcoin actually hit the median line 12th of April. So slightly later, Ethereum topped a few weeks later. But more or less, we can see the exact same time with a few weeks apart, Ethereum hit a massive resistance zone, where I sold my basically exact to the dollar, all my Ethereum here before then Ethereum entered a bear market, because we could have a high conviction when we see Ethereum at major resistance here. At the same time as Bitcoin's at major resistance, we can assume there's going to be heavy selling from both the basically from the algorithms, and we can expect with a high probability at least a pullback. Nobody can actually know if a bear market is going to start, but that's how I played the previous cycle personally. This cycle is a bit different for Ethereum. I was hoping to actually seeing Ethereum more stronger this cycle, because it would have been easier for us to predict the bull market top for Bitcoin if we could also predict the bull market top for Ethereum this cycle. But we're going to take a look at that in a second. But as of for now, I thought this was very interesting because we see more or less at the same time Bitcoin topped and Ethereum topped. So it was a very clear sell signal we had previous bull run. So let's jump back on the Bitcoin chart. So let's try apply the exact same rules that we applied previous bull run to predict the top here. And as you guys know, the rules are we use the previous bear market lows. So the bear market lows technically was in December 2018. Then we use the bull market top, which I believe technically this is the top here. So even though I'm calling this a top, technically this was the higher high. So we want to basically follow the strict rules here and use the highest high, which we have on the chart, which was this highest high. And then we want to use the bear market lows again. So this was a pitchfork that I've been using for this bull run. But what's very interesting about this bull run here, we came up, let's actually come out on the weekly chart. So we came up to the median line here before the halving. So we hit the median line before Bitcoin halved. This was last year in March 2024, and we hit the median line really early. So if we were to see something like this on Bitcoin, I think this would be more likely a bull market top before a bear market. The difference was that we did hit this median line extremely early, just right after the halving, I believe, or almost even before the halving, before then Bitcoin entered a bigger correction. So we can once again see this median line did predict a local top on Bitcoin, but did not predict the bull market top. And this doesn't really give us any other choice than to basically change the pivots we're using. So I don't really like to do that. But as you guys know, if you've been following this channel for a long time, we did decide to not use the bear market lows. We used the C19 plunge here we had on Bitcoin, which formed, I think, this a big low here. And I think algorithms are going to look at this low and use it, because we can see this definitely not a small low that Bitcoin made. So I think we can use the exception here and change the pitchfork starting point to the C19 lows, and this is the pitchfork we've been currently tracking here. So we're using the C19 lows, not the bear market lows, the C19 lows, the previous bull market top, and the recent bear market lows. And this pitchfork is giving us a target up here at this median line. It doesn't give us a time target, but it does give us a price target. So it doesn't really matter when we hit the median line. Currently, if we would hit the median tomorrow, it would be at 160K, but of course that's unrealistic. So my expectations is we're gonna hit this more closer towards end of the year, which is gonna give us a target somewhere between 170 to around 200K target for Bitcoin bull market. And as I've been saying, I think this is an optimistic target. I think we're gonna need to see a lot more upside for Bitcoin to actually go to these levels. Do I think it's likely we'll go there? That's a very good question. I'm really not sure. I do think that's an extremely bullish target for Bitcoin, but perhaps this bull market could be more extended and we could actually see towards the end of the year some crazy targets for Bitcoin. But this is what the pitchfork is showing, and I keep tracking it. Of course, we have lower targets as well. I have a strategy how I'm going to play this bull market and where I'm going to look to exit. But as of for now, I do think we have higher prices. But the idea is to come up to the median line here, to have a blow off top towards end of the year, hit the median line before then we see some kind of chop, and then we enter a bigger bear market on Bitcoin. So very straightforward how we're trying to play this bull market on Bitcoin. But of course, there are many resistance levels we're going to pay attention to on the way. So far, we are still quite far below the median line. So for us to come to the median line, Bitcoin would need around another 70%, maybe another double, maybe 100%, which would take us to 200K by end of this, by December, basically end of this year. And as I said, this is a possibility, but we need to acknowledge that Bitcoin needs actually to do something like that, which is quite insane in my opinion. I'm kind of a conservative trader overall. I don't like to call for these crazy targets because I think something big needs to happen for Bitcoin to actually go there. Especially we're going to need to see a lot higher in the stock market as well. But this is kind of my idea. I just want to share this because I know we have a lot of new subscribers and they're not familiar to why exactly I'm using this pitchfork. But this is kind of my bull market prediction at the moment. This is the median line we are looking. We are using the modify shift pitchfork here to try to predict the top here for Bitcoin. We can take a look at Ethereum as well. This is a tricky part because this bull market, as everybody knows, Ethereum has been underperforming. So last bull market, Ethereum had made crazy gains. Ethereum went all the way from The bear market lows from $83 all the way up to 4.4K. So it was, if we take the complete lows here, Ethereum had around 5.5%, 5,500% gain almost a previous bull run. Absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. But this bull market is a bit different. So we're going to try apply the same rules we applied previous bull run on Ethereum. And the rules are we use the bear market lows, then we use the previous bull market top, and then the recent bear market lows again, and we start with the shift one. On Ethereum, I've been using the shift one because it gives us a bit more conservative target. The modified shift just seems too unrealistic. So this is a pitchfork I've been tracking this bull market, but as we know, Ethereum has been very, very weak. So currently we came very close to the median line at this bull run. And in my opinion, a failure of hitting the median line is usually a bearish sign. So when price doesn't hit the median line, comes close to the median line, this usually means that we're going to see a bigger move to the opposite direction. This is just a great sign of weakness overall. We came very close. This would have been made more sense for Ethereum to come to the median line and then top before going down. But so far, the current target for Ethereum is sitting at 8.6K. Can Ethereum go there? Yes, I do think Ethereum has the possibility to actually go to 8.6 thousand. Do I think it's likely? I really don't think it's likely. I actually think that this bull market, Ethereum is going to fail to have this big push to the upside. I still think Ethereum has higher to go, but I cannot come here confidently on the internet in front of thousands of people and say I really, with high conviction, calling for a 250% gain on Ethereum. I don't really think that. I wished it was different. I wish Ethereum was closer to this median line. I would be more confident if Ethereum hit the median line at the exact same time. Bitcoin hits the median line. That would give me with a very strong conviction to actually call the top of the bull market and start shorting when I see basically the two biggest cryptos hitting a macro resistance at the same time. That would give us a very clear exit signal overall for the market. But so far, I'm just sharing with you this pitchfork I have on Ethereum. So if you're an Ethereum bull, this would be your exit price. But as of for now, we're not even inside this basically outside line of the pitchfork that we need to reclaim first. We did held the support here of the outside line of the pitchfork, but we're still outside the whole pitchfork. So far, no point starting to call that before we see any confirmation. So very possible that Ethereum actually failed to hit the median line this bull market. We can get a push maybe to 5K. Then Ethereum's going to roll over and die out. Very likely for this bull market. So I'm not paying too much attention to Ethereum this bull run as I did previous bull run. As we all know, Ethereum has been extremely underperforming Bitcoin here. So kind of what I'm looking at more this bull run is the stock market. I think, as I've been saying, Bitcoin is going to continue to go to the upside as long as the stock market continues to go to the upside. And we're also going to monitor the global liquidity. As you guys know, we've been talking about the global liquidity here for a while, so we can attach the global liquidity index here on Bitcoin here. So if we add the global liquidity index here, just configure the settings here, but because we need to add all the countries here, the US, AU, the China, the Japan, all the countries total. And then here on the weekly, I believe the offset, let me just play around. I believe the offset was around 70. I could be wrong here. It depends on what time frame here is. Yeah, I think the 70 is too big on the weekly chart. So let's maybe try 20 and maybe even less. So I think we could use a 10 offset here on the weekly. Basically what we're doing is we're shifting the global liquidity chart into the future. So as you guys can see here on the weekly chart, Bitcoin has been following the global liquidity. There's no lie to that. There's no denying that. We spoke about this last year in August before when Bitcoin was dropping sideways. We saw the global liquidity spiking. We said publicly that we do expect another all-time high on Bitcoin. So we nailed, basically we called the big move up. Again, when Bitcoin was trading at around 80K, I said global liquidity is rising at the moment. So we called the pump here as well on Bitcoin. And this seems like a lot of people keep forgetting to look at the global liquidity when it has been an excellent indicator in the past. So right now, there's no reason to say that this time is different. We can see in the past here, previous bull market, Bitcoin followed the global liquidity towards the bear market as well. Global liquidity was going down. Bitcoin was going down as well. Of course, it's not a one-to-one correlation, but definitely, as you guys can see, global liquidity plays a huge role on Bitcoin. So there's no denying that. So you can see at the moment, global liquidity continues to rise. So we're going to continue to monitor that. Ideally, for Bitcoin to actually reach this median line, we want to see this rise continue in the global liquidity. And then as we know, Bitcoin tends to follow. And this gives me more confidence that this median line actually has a big possibility of getting hit. So very, very interesting as for now. As you can see here for yourself, I'm using the weekly chart. I just put a 10 week offset, so of the 10 bar offset, which is actually 10 weeks. But then if you use a different time frame, you need to recalibrate the offset. But as you guys can see, in my opinion, there's no denying how nicely the correlation is. And this is one of the strongest indicators I'm actually looking, especially for my macro analysis on Bitcoin. I do think this is a very, very important tool to have a look at. And as of for now, we can see here, global liquidity is leading the way. We can see global liquidity is ahead of Bitcoin. So for me, it's very easy to assume with high probability that Bitcoin is actually going to catch up here. Are we going to go all the way to the median line? Time will tell, but do I think Bitcoin can at least go to 140K, 150K? I really believe that with high conviction as well. So this is kind of the macro analysis. Guys, let me know in the comments if you enjoy the macro analysis. Lately, I mainly do short time frame, but just want to share with you guys what I'm looking here, macro time frames. You can get kind of understanding the things I'm looking at here personally and how I'm looking to play this bull market, not only from a trading perspective, but also from a holder's perspective. So that's kind of it for the macro analysis. Let's jump into the short time frame analysis here on Bitcoin. So thank you guys for your patience. If for you who waited for the short time frame analysis. For the shorter time frame analysis, we can jump in here on the 5-hour chart. So as we spoke about, we have had this impulse here from the April lows when Bitcoin came down all the way to 74,000. Then we had made an all-time high a few weeks ago at 112K, I believe. 112K was the all-time high. Then we had a beautiful retrace to the 0.31 Fibonacci. This is basically the only Fibonacci tool I'm using, developed by myself. There are different rules how you use it, but in this case, we pulled it from the complete lows to the complete highs, and we can see Bitcoin bottomed right to the dollar at the 0.31. Previously, we did use the second wave. So previously, we called this low here where we first longed, where we said there's a possibility that the fourth wave already have bottomed, and then we'll start a fifth wave. But if we come lower, we can readjust the fib and just use the lowest low here. So in this case, we can see first algorithm spot here, market was not strong enough. We came down, swept some more liquidity, bottomed again at the 0.31. So the point is, no matter which low you are using, if you have long the 0.31, you would have made good gains both of the times. So I'm currently long here personally, and I'm sitting long here. I do think with high probability that the fourth wave is actually in, as we've been speaking about the last 3 days, ever since we made this bottom. We swept out all liquidity, and it really makes sense to me to have a 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth waves love to bottom at the 0.31. Very, very typical price action. Fourth waves can be choppy, so we could see some more chop here, but I do believe the direction is to the upside, and sooner or later we're actually gonna continue the fifth wave, which is going to take us to all-time highs. There are some other indicators we're also looking at, apart from the global liquidity as we just discussed. But this kind of what I'm looking at the moment. I do think Bitcoin is going higher overall. Another great indicator we can look here on the 5-hour time frame is we can draw another pitchfork here. So we can pull it here from the first wave. We pull it here to the third wave, which was the all-time highs, and then the fourth wave. And I like to start with the shift one. Shift one gives us the most conservative target. Of course, you can also use the original, which is a possibility with the original, but I always start with the shift one, which is conservative, and we want to find the next resistance. And a lot of people are asking me, Cobra, when is the next resistance? Because you're long, where are you looking to take profit? As of for now, I'm not looking to take any profits before we're hitting 110, maybe 109K, which is this median line. That's where the algorithms are looking to sell. And as of for now, Bitcoin is pushing strongly here. It's actually been doing very great both Saturday and Sunday. Usually you need to be careful with weekend pumps. We could retrace this here on Monday, come back down here. But overall, the direction is to the upside, and I'm looking to ride my long to at least 109,000 before I'm going to look to start hedging with some short positions. And all my trades are shared inside the Discord live ahead of time. So you can click the first link in the description if you're interested, guys, to follow my live trades. We've actually been really doing very good the past few months here, actually nailing quite a few trades here, especially on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check it out. So that's kind of my plan here at the moment. I'm calling now officially 109,000. Posted this on Twitter as well, and I announced it live everywhere. So make sure you follow my Twitter. I have a free Telegram. Everything can be found in the link in the description. So that's kind of what I'm looking at the moment. Bitcoin is holding very, very strong here. Of course, if we start coming down and taking out the lows here, I believe then my Elliott wave count would be invalidated. But as long as we can hold the lows here, so far my Elliott wave count stands here. And I think we can see higher. So if I had to guess, we could see something like this on Bitcoin coming up here. Then we have maybe a bigger pullback here, sweeping some leverage. And then maybe towards end of the year, we can start seeing some really impulsive moves, which are going to take us much higher, but we like to take it one target at a time. But I'm now calling officially for this median line, which is sitting at around 109K at the moment. Also, as we've been speaking about, if we take a look at the liquidation heat map, there's very little liquidity below us. We swept a lot of liquidity here when we wicked down. And right now it keeps building liquidity above us. We can also zoom out here on the 1 month chart. So it looks like to me the path of least resistance is to the upside. We can see here a bunch of liquidity we took out here. Very, very beautiful. A lot of leverage was wiped out from the market, and we keep seeing more and more liquidity building above us. So I think Bitcoin in no time is going towards the 109K target, which is my next official target on Bitcoin. At the same time, we saw the crypto fear and greed index dropped. We're currently sitting at neutral, and Bitcoin is trading at 104K. 106K Bitcoin is trading at, and we see the fear and greed is at 50 at neutral. Very, very bullish sign overall to see. As well, we can take a look at the open interest, the chart that is showing how much leverage there is in the market. We can see here Bitcoin has been trending to the upside. No new leverage has been piling in. So very, very good to see. We can see not so much leverage has been going on here. I believe this is mostly spot buying, which is driving the price, which is healthy overall for the market. Usually we see the open interest start spiking towards the end when we're close to forming a local top, just as we saw here previously in end of last month. So around 25th of May, we can see here, if we zoom out a bit, this was the open interest. We can see massive leverage was entering the market, and Bitcoin only went from 105. Yes, we did make an all-time high to around 112. So Bitcoin didn't have a massive move, but you can see the open interest had a massive move, and that's when I started warning people here on the channel. I said I don't like what I'm seeing here, because usually when Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, we do see some retail FOMO coming in. People start longing with leverage, expecting Bitcoin to go higher. And we can see after this massive spike in the open interest, what happened? Bitcoin, of course, had a pullback, and the open interest got wiped as well, which is exactly what I wanted to see. We had these huge red candles here. Right now, open interest, the leverage in the market is not doing much, while Bitcoin is slowly but surely trending to the upside. Very healthy. If we start seeing this spiking, that's when we want to be cautious. But also for now, it's very difficult for me to actually be bearish here overall on Bitcoin, seeing all these different things I just mentioned, that all basically telling me that we're going to see higher prices on Bitcoin. Before the end video, we can also take a look at the Bitcoin halving price. So basically these are the 3 previous bull runs attached on top of each other compared when Bitcoin had the halving. So we still here, usually on average, I believe to say Bitcoin tends to top 500 days after it has been halved. So so far basically we're not that far. We still have plenty of time left before we could see a top here, and even this bull run I believe could even go for longer. So we could even top later than the other bull runs, depending, of course, how the stock market is going to perform. But so far, looking at this chart, I do think Bitcoin has plenty of upside left towards the around 500-day mark. Then from there, we're going to have to see. But so far, I really like, compared to the other markets here, we can see Bitcoin hasn't done much yet. So we still have higher upside for Bitcoin, in my opinion. Also, people think that we're late into the bull run, which I kind of agree with, because the bull run actually started way before the halving. This time we already made an all-time high before the halving, but overall I do think we could see some crazy targets here, especially when seeing the stock market doing well here. So as long as the stock market holds up, Bitcoin tends to go higher, even though we don't need to see any crazy gains in the stock market. As long as we don't get any pullbacks or any corrections in the stock market, Bitcoin tends to hold up extremely strong. So that's kind of my analysis for today, guys. I really appreciate all the support. Make sure you're inside the Discord if you want to follow all my live trades. We currently have 2 long positions here on Bitcoin. We have actually absolutely been nailing the lows here. I think more accurate than this. It's difficult to get. It's currently riding my long positions. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Make sure you're subscribed. I see a lot of people are watching this channel, but they're not subscribed. So make sure you are subscribed for daily updates here. And yeah, I hope you have a great weekend, guys, and I'll see you again, guys, tomorrow when the market's open and we get some more volatility. So have a nice Sunday, and see you again, guys, tomorrow. Bye bye.
Snake and bake, King Cobra. Bow down to the king. Yeah, you come for the king, then you best not miss. Only fools try to counter trade the Cobra's hits. Going long from the bottom, short from the top, with medium precision. He just don't stop.